when you think about things like grammar fields and like being able to manipulate the media or manipulate like all of Twitter or all of YouTube or all of TikTok, like, can that be done wisely? Like, is that a valid possibility, or is that purely going to fall into some Molochian or just devilish trap? Like, is it something that is too powerful to not be captured or to not be self-corrupting?
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like Daniel Schmachtenberger talks about that question a bit, maybe from a different frame as well. I know a few years ago he was kind of uh, thinking about psychopaths and sociopaths, and um, the fact that they exist being like kind of a constraint on what the possibility space entails, because you have to design for the fact that they are natural occurrences. People will always murder. There is no
Yeah.
utopia in that sense, because there is material scarcity, there is time scarcity, there is death, there is entropy, right? um Almost the masculine archetype of death.
Mhm. Mhm. That's a very, very interesting point that you just point towards with like Daniel's analysis of that, or like framing of that problem. Like there are sociopath and psychopath, full stop. Like if you just be like, oh no, people should use it wisely, and like yeah, wishful thinking can't undo that fact.
Mm.
What I find very interesting is that there are, I think, almost two stages of that thought experiment. Like one is, you know, thought experiment. One is very much fact. Everyone would agree there are psychopaths. We are living, we know, like we're living in times where we have seen enough horrible shit done by people that, of course, they are psychopaths. But there's this thing, there's this hand gesture from Sandtalk. Do you remember that?
Mm.
Where he does this thing?
Yeah.
Um, and to me, that is the transcendent and the omniscient and their relationship. And it is
Mm.
basically the upward or the downward spiral, depending on which flow you do.
Yeah.
And it just always comes back. It feels like this is the metaphysical clarity behind all complexity that can ever be produced by reality. It's always this at the end
Yeah.
of the day. And I find it so funny because I was dismissing this good and evil concept from Christianity as like totally, you know, way too simplistic. And now on the other side of the complexity, I'm like, oh no, it's actually, yeah, like it's this polarity between like the right or the wrong relationship
Yeah.
between the transcendent and the omniscient. Um, but there is basically this move that you can do, which is Einstein did that apparently with the general relativity, where he was like, what if we always thought there's matter in space, and
Mm.
space is like the canvas, and matter is like the color painted on that canvas. And he was like, nah, what if the space itself is also an actor on the stage, or like it's also,
Mm.
I like to call it like a canvas to color shift. Like there's this
Yeah.
thing where you kind of invert the whole thing, and it makes more sense than it did before.
Yes.
Um, and it feels like here it kind of resonates a bit with that, which is like when you think about culture and you're like, okay, so we have this canvas of culture,
Mm.
and then we have what's his name? Uh, Charles Manson and his people, like
Mm.
here a cult here springs up. And then you have yeah, all these cults,
Mm.
Jonestown and all these cults that we know of. But we have this canvas of culture, and it always is challenged by a cult here and there.
Mm.
Um, Interestingly, this is the same story that it was told during the Roman Empire, I believe, which was like the Roman Empire is the culture, and now this Christian cult is springing up, you know? But then eventually it was integrated into the culture. What if the whole thing is backwards?
Mm.
What if we're living in a big cult and what if? Isn't that like an interesting option to consider? Um, and it's like this question only is meaningful if you have a very, very precise definition of what is means to have a culture and what it means to have a cult. And I believe using story as tool creates cults, and serving story as being creates culture
Mm,
downstream of that. And I think it's like a very precise definition, and it goes down to love and fear, basically. It's very simple at the end of the day.
yeah.
Um, so now the question is like we have psychopath. Are there like splashes of color on our canvas? Or what if the psychopath are running the show?
Mm,
To what degree is that the case? Because if you think, no, no, right now it's okay. We just need to make sure that these from the fringes, these few psychopaths don't capture that thing. But
mm,
now, right now, it's in good hands. That's a very, very different statement, very different situation to be in, as if the psychopath, like the few of them that are very successful and very clever, created this illusion that they're not in control. And this is just a very interesting thought experiment that is takes it one step further, um, and I believe is something we should investigate. Um, because if obviously like it's something that is not easily proven. Um, and to that degree, I'm liminal about it, but if it is the case, changes everything, right? Like it totally it changes everything and nothing at the same time.
mm.
Um, but it is a very different situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,